Hi, it's Pete here from See Your Toes again, and this is podcast number 44. Today I have a special guest has joined me. His name is Roman Simon. He lives in, can I say, is it Tbilisi?
Tbilisi, yes.
Yeah, which is the capital of Georgia.
Yes, it's the capital.
Yeah, and Georgia, of course, is the one that's near Russia. It's not somewhere in the middle of the United States or anywhere else. So he is joining me, and we're going to hopefully have a very interesting chat about all sorts of things. And I think you'll be fascinated with something he especially is doing at the moment, which I take my hat off to, which is one of the reasons I contacted him in the first place. So, welcome, Roman.
Thank you for having me. It will be very interesting to talk to you.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself, where you are, I guess just general stuff so we can get a handle on who you are?
I live in Georgia and I'm an explorer and filmmaker. Explorer means I explore the world and lots of different things which interest me. So I try my limits. I explore how the world works and do some interesting experiments all the time. So I like usually I'm bored, and that's why I try to find some interesting ways to spend my life doing some crazy things too.
It's interesting that you say you're bored. I get like that a lot, and you're right. It's you end up finding things to do because you're thinking, what can I do now? What trouble can I get into now?
Yeah, and because I'm interested in how the universe works, I try lots of things myself. Like I don't like to believe things. When some interesting ideas appear or I read about something, I don't have tendency to believe whatever I hear and read. So I go out and try it myself. Sometimes it takes lots of time, like maybe years even. But until I will just try it myself, I will not know for sure. That's why it makes my life more interesting.
Yeah, okay. And you mentioned also that you're a filmmaker. Now, that's a really
Yeah.
interesting one as well. Not many people can say that.
Yeah. I have a very interesting Instagram account where I have lots of my works listed. So I'm a cinematographer myself and also a storyteller. So I shoot, I direct, and do some interesting things.
Wow. I guess a lot of that storytelling and so on would be in the in a European language as opposed to English.
No, mostly I do things in English, but for me, the language is not the most important part. So I as a cinematographer, I try to convey feelings and information through visuals, not through language.
Right. Okay.
So most of my films and commercials are without language, or sometimes with a narration, but it's not dependent on the language. So
Okay.
anyone can watch and anyone can feel emotions.
Later on, if it's all right with you, I'll get your Instagram address and I'll put it on the show notes so that people can check you out.
Yeah.
Cool. And something else that I have learned about you is that I believe you're carnivore.
Yes. I'm carnivore, which means I eat only meat, eggs, and fish. Like other things, maybe I will eat a tomato once per month or something, just randomly, not because I want it, just randomly.
Yeah. Okay. And how long have you been doing carnivore for?
I think it's 6 months already.
Yeah.
I have tried lots of different diets, styles, because I like experimenting. Like I go deep into this stuff, and especially when it is connected to my health and my capabilities and my future. So I tried lots of different diets, types of foods, and after like deep research, I came to the understanding that we evolved to eat meat, and I wanted to try it myself because the idea is interesting. But until I will try, I will not know for sure. So
Hmm.
6 months, I'm eating only meat, eggs, and fish. That's it.
That's quite interesting. So on that basis, then, because I've been kind of carnivore, I have been keto for nearly 12 years, I guess. But the last 6 months, I've same as you. Then I guess I've been sort of doing a lot more carnivore than anything else, and I have noticed significant differences in a lot of things, and so it's quite interesting talking to you about that. Um, I'm kind of the same these days. Sometimes I have salady stuff and tomatoes and so on, as I do post on my Instagram and Twitter accounts. But I quite often think, nah, I can't be bothered with the vegetables. To be honest, I can't be bothered with them, and I know that when I've been carnivore for like a month straight, I've felt better. It's amazing.
And you know what is interesting? Like previously, when I was eating lots of different things, it took like forever to make all this different meals, prepare everything, or learn about some recipes. And now I'm spending like 5 minutes per day. I just throw beef into a pan and just boil it for 5 hours. So that's it. And every time I eat a boiled beef, I'm like amazed how tasty and good it is. Like I can eat it forever. I don't need anything else.
Yeah. I read a really interesting book actually just this week. I've got a Kindle, which is great because I can load Kindle books on for free. A lot of them are free, so it's like, oh, I'll rent that one now, so that it doesn't cost me anything. So I'm too tight assed. So I got this one, and it was about vitamin D, vitamin C, and iodine. The last podcast I actually only uploaded a couple of days ago, and that's about iodine. That's another point. But the comment was when it comes to vitamin C, because everybody says, oh, if you're carnivore, then you're going to have low vitamin C. You're probably going to have scurvy. You're going to die. It turns out that's kind of bullshit, because apparently your vitamin C is, you need a lot more vitamin C when you're on a vegetation diet, and especially when you're on other carbohydrates, because they all create a lot of oxidizing in your body, and vitamin C is an antioxidant, so it spends half of its time running around trying to fix you because of the stuff you've been eating, not because you haven't been eating it. So when you're carnivore, the amount of vitamin C you need apparently is really low compared with a standard person's diet. And that's
Yes.
why people don't get scurvy when they're on a carnivore diet. There's enough vitamin C apparently in a lot of the meat and stuff we are eating to get us through the threshold, as opposed to other people who will need a vitamin C supplement or have to eat lots of vitamin C to try to just to keep up with the crap that they're eating.
Yes, yes, yes. I watched several of your ex short videos. I heard about that. Yes,
Oh, right.
yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
And you know what is interesting? Like I don't like to drink just pure water. I add several drops of lemon and apple cider vinegar there, so I get lots of vitamin C. Like I drink 5 times per day, and it's a water with lemon, so
Mm.
I get the vitamin C in
Yeah.
abundance.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Um. Oh, that's interesting. So, I guess it's the same with, if you're eating lots of fish, then you're getting your iodine, because a lot of as long as the fish comes from the ocean as opposed to trout or eel, then that's going to have iodine in it too. So then you end up with enough iodine. But
And
I'm
also,
quite
I'm adding sea salt, which is iodized. That's
right. Yep. Yep. a lot of countries. I was quite interested in this, which is why I did the podcast last number 43, because iodine is something that is deficient in so many countries. And in New Zealand, we grew up with having iodized table salt because the country had no iodine in its soil. The cattle would get, I think it was called bush sickness. They'd get really sick because there was no iodine in the pasture grass. And so we ate iodized table salt. And then, of course, in the 70s, people come along and say, don't eat salt. And so everyone stopped eating salt, and that meant they stopped eating their iodine. So it's quite a crucial thing. I know I'm deviating here. I do tend to deviate quite a bit. So anyway, okay. So it's also interesting in a country like Georgia. I wouldn't have thought there would be too many people who are into a carnivore or other diet as opposed to just eating a standard Georgian style food.
I think that most people everywhere eat just cheapest stuff, which is carbohydrates, which
Yep.
give more pleasure. So people don't think about that. They just eat whatever feels good, and carbs feel good.
Yeah. Our bodies are designed to eat carbs, and as much as, of course, our bodies are designed to hunt carbs down because they used to be so damn rare, our bodies are designed to hunt them down and make the most of
Yes.
them, and suddenly they're not rare anymore. They're just common as poop. So, yeah.
I've never met a person who is carnivore here, like never. Georgian diets, Georgian food is rich in meat. Like almost every Georgian meal has meat in it, and also lots of vegetables and beans and stuff like that. But it's a mixed diet, which is meat, fats, and veggies, like something like that.
Out of interest, just because a Georgian lifestyle isn't something I know very much about. In fact, I know nothing about. What sort of meats are normally available? What sort of meats do people normally eat?
What sort of what?
Meat.
Meat.
What animal do they eat?
We eat all kinds of meats here. Like everything is available. And horses, no, we don't eat horses. But everything else that people eat is available here.
Okay. Like, for example, lamb and mutton and goat.
Yes, that's true. And pork and beef and poultry, like all kinds of birds and stuff like that.
When we grew up, we always had mutton because mutton was cheap. All the lamb was sent off to other parts of the world, so nobody could afford, no New Zealander could afford to eat lamb, so we all had mutton. Mum would cook it in the oven for hours to try to soften it up, and of course you'd end up with an inch layer of fat at the bottom, which she kept for later cooking and everything else. And mutton was bloody nice, and it's like when you go to a restaurant in the UK and you can sometimes get goat, especially in say an Asian restaurant, and mutton and goat are both so tasty. They've got such a strong taste to them.
Yeah, great thing. Meats are very tasty.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Okay, so the big thing that I noticed that that I'd like to talk about, therefore, is your fasting. Now, most people, when they hear about fasting, they'll do a 24-hour fast, or they might extend themselves to a 48-hour fast. I'll admit the longest fast I've ever done is 48 hours. Other people will go to an extreme of 72 hours, 3 days, or even 4 days. Can you tell me how long so far your longest fast has been to date?
Okay. My longest fast to date was 21 days. Only on water. 21 days, yes.
21 days.
It was 500 hours. 500.
Did you get to the stage where you're actually counting the hours, sort of? Yeah.
After 1 week, you don't want food anymore, and you are not waiting when you will finish the fast. Like you can go forever until you have a fat in your body which gives you energy, and you get some minerals which are necessary. You don't care about anything. You just
Mm.
live and feel okay.
And the reason I'm interested in that, excuse me, the reason I'm interested in this is because I'm absolutely most of my diet, most of my philosophy is based around how we would have lived 100,000 years ago, because that's how the human body is designed, is
Exactly.
for those hundreds of thousands of years that we survived out in the wilderness. And there must have been times when everybody, including children, had to go through pretty long stages of no food, whether it's because of just because food wasn't available. I've always said, like in my book, you get trapped in a cave in the winter and it's got a meter of snow outside, you're a bit screwed. And that could last for 2 or 3 weeks easily or longer. And so I think the human body is definitely designed for it. But I've only read from one other chap who um, fasted for as long as you, and he annoyed the crap out of me because he was vegan and he just kept digging about anybody who ate meat. So that got really boring. So I'm really interested in delving more about this. What made you decide to fast for so long for a start?
Uh, First, when I started researching about fasting, it happened because I was 33. I was eating mostly fast food, and I felt very, very bad. And I felt like I'm getting old and I can't do anything. Like physically, I was in very bad shape. I have posts on my ex with photos and all details, very interesting stories. So then I decided that's it. I need to research about how a healthy life looks like. What do I need to do for that? And also, what do I need to do to extend my life, my healthy life, as long as possible? So I started researching and found this fasting stuff. I found all this information with all the logic which you just mentioned now about evolutionary stuff. I base all my decisions on evolutionary logic always. But then, besides the logic, I need to try it myself. Before I will try, I will not know for sure. So I started that stuff, and like for 6 months, I was eating once per day, almost one meal per day.
Yep.
I started cutting carbs and then eating once per day, and then doing 48 hours occasionally, and then 72 hours occasionally, and then some hard things started, like no energy, headaches, nausea, many vertigo, like lots of different effects. And then I started learning how to do it in more efficient ways, not to get this negative effects.
Okay.
And then was 4 days several times, then 5 days several times. It took me maybe 3-4 years to go to a 1 week fast. But
And that's
you
interesting in
see,
itself for anyone
yeah,
who's thinking about suddenly doing a long fast. That's important because you have trained your body to get used to the
uh,
concept.
I don't think that someone who never have done a fast will die in 1 week. I don't think so. But it will be very, very discomforting and painful.
Hmm.
Without, it's like going to the gym. If you will go and start lifting heavy, like in several days, you will be devastated. Like everything will be in pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then after I learned some tricks, what I need to do to have my fasting in more efficient way. Like now, I don't even feel any discomfort.
Mm.
There are two parts. I am adapted to it, and I do it in an efficient way. So now I just decide. I start. I do it, and feel. Sometimes I feel a little bit weak. That's it. No headaches, no vertigo, like nothing. And I live my usual a very extreme lifestyle because I'm always doing some things and traveling and doing physical stuff, training every day. So now I'm on my 7th day of my 28-day fast.
Yes, I was about to say, where are you now? Because I know you're in the middle of
Yeah.
another decent one. So this will be a new record for you.
Yes, I want to. I know it's a long period, and probably we don't need to fast for so long. I would say like from 1 to 2 weeks is the ideal for our health and everything else. But I'm doing it as a research. I'm experimenting. I want to find my limits, and I want to know what happens to the body because there is a lot of contradictions on the internet. Like information contradicts each other. And I'm doing my blood tests once per week, and I'm checking everything. I'm checking ketones, sugar levels, everything. I will have like scientific level information. Also, what I do, I try whatever I find on my friends and or on other people because, okay, I'm adapted, and it may not show on me. I need to try it on other people too. So now with me, my girlfriend fasts with me right now. She's on 7th day also, and
Wow.
she does it the first time in her life. Like it's the first time, and she feels a little bit weak and has headaches sometimes. But she's okay, and she goes on. Like she wants to do 2 weeks. It's the first fasting of her life. 2 weeks.
Wow. Take my hat off to her then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't have, incidentally, you don't have like electrolytes or anything. You don't have any salts.
I drink only water with drops of lemon and apple cider vinegar and salt.
Okay.
I drink only such water. So electrolytes I have in abundance. Also, I take it's called aspartame here. It's magnesium and potassium.
Okay.
It's a low amount, but 350 milligrams of each.
Yeah. And that's certainly, excuse me, that's certainly not going to provide any energy to you. That's literally just keeping up with what your muscles need.
Yes. And my as I'm checking my ketones levels, it shows that I am deep ketosis because like yesterday I had 6.1. It's extremely high ketones level. It means that if I will eat something, anything, just a little bread or chocolate or something, I will go out of ketosis. Insulin will be secreted, and that's it. And my ketones will drop.
And for people who are listening and they're thinking, oh my God, there's not going to be anything left to you. Of course, the big thing about a lengthy fasting is that your body goes into autophagy. So it goes around and finds all of those cells in your body that aren't working particularly well, are a little bit old and inefficient, and it breaks them down and uses all of those building blocks to create new cells and stuff.
Exactly.
So so you end up in a case of being able to use existing building blocks to rebuild anything that goes wrong, and also you are probably way healthier than most people because all of those little organs and cells, not organs, but organelles and cells and so on, would have been broken down and reused, and so you end up being in a much healthier state, don't you, than the normal person?
I think so, yes, because like besides the fasting, I'm living a very healthy lifestyle. Like I eat only meat and eggs, and I train every day. I walk 10K steps, and I'm communicating. I'm positive. Like everything that I found that will increase my health and mental state, I am doing that.
Cool. So on that basis too, because a lot of people, you've already mentioned this, but a lot of people will be thinking, man, if I fasted for that length of time, I'll be lying on the couch going, I can't get up, I've got no energy, but that's just not the case. So can you tell us a little bit about your energy levels, therefore, and your exercising during the day?
It is a very, very important and interesting thing. Like you can have no energy and you can have unlimited energy. And it doesn't depend on what you eat. Do you fast or do you lay or do you train? Like everything comes from your mind. If I convince my mind that I'm surviving and I need energy for survival, I will get the energy. If there is a tiger which wants to eat me, like the body will give me the energy. Have I eaten or not? I was sleeping or not? It doesn't matter. I need to survive. I will get the energy. So I tried this many times. Like sometimes I'm so weak, not during fasting, like usually. I feel so weak that I don't want to move. I just want to lay down. And then I think like, why? Why is this happening? I'm not like that. I don't want this to be. And then I wake up and I intentionally start doing some intense physical stuff. And suddenly I have all this energy and I do it because I think it's important. I just
Mm,
convinced myself I need to survive. That's it. I get the energy.
mm,
There are some physiological limits. For example, if we are eating carbs and then insulin is secreted and then our our blood sugar goes down, then we will feel weak because we don't have energy, and the
mm.
body will have hard time providing with this energy. We will need to eat. We will be hungry and stuff like that. But again, I'm convinced that if it's a threat to your life and you are surviving, you will get the energy.
Mm. And of course, you've got the energy coming from your body fat. That's the big thing, isn't it? Which is why your
And
ketones are
we
high.
have lots of lots of body fat. Yes.
What after your we got to keep on that subject. After
Yeah.
your 21-day fast, what was your do you know roughly what your body fat level was or anything like that?
I can guess visually because I've studied this stuff a lot. Like I
Mm,
can visually tell pretty accurately how much body fat anyone has. So I had maybe around 17 percent when I started, and I came down maybe to 14, something like that, 13, 14%.
that's not a huge difference, is it? That's surprising because you'd expect to go from 17% to 5%.
To five, I will not be able to go to 5%. It's very extreme. Like
Mm,
I think that naturally it's not even possible to do that.
mm,
Like bodybuilders use heavy chemicals to alter their body's balance, and that's why they can do that. I've never seen a natural person who is like 5 or 6% body fat. I
mm,
don't think it's possible
mm.
because body will start surviving and it will just shut down your mind, which wants to go down.
Yeah.
It will strive for food and stuff like that.
Mm.
And I don't think it's a healthy percentage. Like 10 is very good. At 10%, you will look like jacked some athlete.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'd like to look like. I have been down to probably 15%, and you start to look pretty, you look at the gym, people start to look at you, and it's not because
Yeah,
you're super muscly, it's because you got reasonable muscles and low body fat. And so those muscles you
yeah,
got are poking out, they're bouncing.
yeah,
Uh, and that's the thing. I look at a lot of guys at the gym and they're big. They can lift heavy, but of course they're big also because of all the fat they've got on them. And you think, man, if you could get rid of probably 20 kilos of fat, you'd look ripped. You'd look a different kind of guy, and people would stop and look at you and think, shit, he looks all right. So it's interesting, the whole
yeah.
body
And
fat.
because they are eating rice and
Yeah.
potatoes, they will not be able to go
No,
down.
no, they're all carbon up because they've all been told that the only way to build muscle is to eat huge amounts of calories, and those calories need to come from carbohydrates. So they just hoover it down, and they become big fat lard asses in the process.
Yeah, yeah. Like I was trying my whole life. I was trying to get jacked, to get
Mm,
low body fat, and I was not able to do that. There were periods when I trained for several years, like 2 years, and trying to diet when you eat less than you want and when you are not satiated,
Yep.
it gives you so much discomfort and like you become weak and your brain turns off, like you don't want to do anything. It's a mess, you know. And then after research, I found like the fasting is the most efficient way to lose weight and fat weight. You
Yeah.
lose mostly fat weight. This is the
Yep.
trick. And it's
Yep.
okay. It's discomforting too, but when you are adapted, it's excellent. I don't feel any discomfort right now, and the weight drops. Like I dropped 700 to 1,000 grams per day, like kilogram per day.
Wow.
And it's mostly fat and water. Like almost no muscle is catabolized because there have been done several scientific tests. Like when muscle breaks down, some substances are released into the blood, and they can check it like precisely. They can check if you have this substance in your blood, then your muscle is catabolized. If you don't have it, then no muscle is catabolized. And Jason Fung, if you heard about him, you know Jason
No.
Fung. He had several presentations where he scientifically like describes everything in great detail.
Okay. And you'd also know if you are catabolizing muscle because when you're outside exercising, tomorrow you can't quite lift what you lifted yesterday.
It may be a way, yes, to determine, but scientific ways show much more precisely. Like,
Yeah, okay.
and also, I was interested. Again, I read all this info, and I thought, is it true or not? I don't know. I need to try. I did 21 days. Okay, muscle. Some portion of muscle will be catabolized because 21 days it's a lot, and body will need some protein in 21 days.
Yeah.
But after I started eating, like the body remembered that I needed this muscle because I was training. And it started as soon as new protein came into my body, it started rebuilding everything like in a very fast pace.
That's muscle memory, isn't it? It's called muscle memory when
Yes.
your
So
body
you can
rebuilds
build
what it's lost.
a muscle that you lost very quickly.
Cool.
I have all the photos and all the information on my X. There, you can just visually see and tell if I'm losing muscle. Like I lost 14 kilograms in 3 weeks. 14. And like if I would lose 14 kilograms of muscle or 10 kilograms, I would look. I like all my muscle is 20 kilograms or something maybe. If I would
Yeah.
lose like 10 half, I would be just skinny. That's it.
You'd look like you'd been on Weight Watchers.
But yes, but I was jacked. You just go and look at pictures and say. So I am like one of the reasons I'm doing 28 days fast is besides checking my limits and what is possible is to record lots of videos and information about fasting to create something like a master class or course. I'm just acquiring data to be able to like in a convenient and good way to like explain and show everything how a person can do it. And that's why 4 weeks is like 4 different kinds of fasting. Like you can do 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and 4 weeks for different reasons. What do you want? Because fasting is a very, very unique and interesting process. It cures everything. Like almost every disease can be cured through fasting. Because
Yes,
when
I've
your
read that.
body understands that like you will die, there are two things: you upgrade yourself and make something, or you die. It just doesn't have any other possibility, and it starts working like 100% to upgrade you to like you can't get food. You are fasting because you can't catch food. What does it mean? That you are weak. So you will need to upgrade your muscles, your blood system, like everything. your mind, you can't catch food because your mind isn't fast and sharp enough. So you need to upgrade that. Or maybe some disease prevents you from performing at your highest level. That's why you can't catch food. So body starts and just upgrade everything which is connected to survival.
Okay. I did read that about a lot of people who have gone into extended fasting. I know there are certainly in places like Germany, there are fasting clinics where you can literally go and get put into a clinic where, of course, that's good for a lot of people because they don't have to use self-control. And those people will often be in there not just because they want to do a fast and have a fun time, but they'll be in there because of a lot of chronic and often potentially fatal diseases, like, for example, cancer, and a lot of diseases where the doctors have told them, you've got no chance, you got 6 months to live. They'll go into a fasting state for a few weeks and they'll literally put those diseases, including cancer, into remission. It is quite amazing. And again, of course, it's a lot of that is because your body starts thinking, right, we need to get rid of all of these bits and pieces that are causing problems, like you've just said. So a lot of people do like to use fasting, extended fasting, for health reasons.
Yes. And it's the cheapest option. And if you can master it yourself, like, you don't need any help from anyone. You are just alone and you can just cure yourself from any disease. What can be better?
Yeah, exactly. And I guess you save a whole lot of money on food as well.
Yes. But you see, the problem is it's not profitable for people who make money from us.
No.
So they use our illnesses to make lots of money. So they will demonize fasting, and there will be some bad information about that.
Yeah. Yeah, they do love to scaremonger, let's face it. Any chance they get with anything that might give a bit of self-healing, it's a little bit like cholesterol, and you could either stop eating sugar if you want to get cholesterol under control and hardened arteries and everything else, or you can have this wonderful drug that will do the same thing. You don't have to change anything. The drug will cost this much per month. We're going to make a profit. Everyone's happy. It's like, yeah, but is my health going to get any better? Oh, no, your health won't get any better. We're just getting rid of the symptoms. We're not getting rid of the health problem. And you can imagine fasting on somebody, and when I say high cholesterol, don't take me out of context there. I bang on about cholesterol all the time because I think it gets such a hard rap from everybody. Cholesterol is such a wonderful product in our bodies.
Yes.
And sugar comes along, screws it all up. Nobody wants to blame sugar, so they blame cholesterol for hardened arteries and for clogged up arteries. And it's not the poor bloody cholesterol at all. It might be because some of that cholesterol is being oxidized into nasty little things that can do this damage. I'm losing my train of thought here again. So then, of course, comes along a fasting period, and that's a chance for your body to start recovering and get rid of some of that fat inside your arteries and so on, and all your intramuscular fats and all sorts of other places, and start fixing things up again. So
yes, cholesterol. Sugar damages our arteries, and then cholesterol comes to repair it. That's why they get clogged. And then
yeah,
they open and find cholesterol in the arteries, and their conclusion is that cholesterol made us sick. It's ingenious.
It's a bit like 50 years ago when they said, hey, these arteries at that stage were full of saturated fats. We're dying of saturated fat, so we better stop eating saturated fat because saturated fat is killing us. And it's like, what a crock, and we changed. The Western society changed for 50 or 60 years. Nobody ate saturated fat. Nobody ate salt. We couldn't eat red meat or eggs because they were high in cholesterol, and our whole health system, our whole diet changed completely. Carbs were great, no problem with sugar. And man, what an absolute screw up society is now in the Western world because of that.
It's an absolute psyop because of profits. They just searching for ways to make it more profitable and just do that. No one cares about the long-term effects, because when you make billions, like why do should care? Why should you care? That's it.
Exactly. You don't have to worry about cholesterol because we'll drop you on a statin. It will reduce some of your cholesterol. You won't feel any better. You'll lose your sex life completely. You'll get brain fog and you won't be able to remember your own name half the time. It won't increase your life at all. It won't get rid of the problem, but it will reduce some of your cholesterol. And so when you go to the doctor's next, he'll be able to say, you've got less cholesterol than you used to have. Oh, great. Thank you. Thanks. That's made my whole miserable life so much better knowing that.
When I read about new idea or a new method or drug or something, I'm analyzing and thinking like 50 to 100,000 years ago, would we do that? If no, then I'm not interested. That's it. It's just evolutionary logic which works every time.
It does work every time because it's how we were designed. It's how our bodies were made. And the perfect scenario, as far as I'm concerned, is that we use the way we used to live, say, 100,000 years ago, along with the much better way of life we've got. Because, of course, back then they only lived to 35, not because they died of old age, but because some bloody saber-toothed tiger decided to eat them. Or they got hurt, of course. They might have broken a leg and they couldn't get that fixed. Or there are so many reasons why somebody doesn't make it to old age because they die along the way. Even, for example, let's face it, disease comes through and that can wipe out a whole bunch of different people as well. So that's where people say, oh, but 100,000 years ago, people only lived till they were 35. On average, if you don't mind, that's
Yes,
on
it's not true.
average.
Yes.
And
Yes.
of course, the average is so low, as people have pointed out, because so much infant mortality brings that down. So
Exactly.
if only one child in 5 lives to the age of 3, and then after that he's fine or she's fine and they carry on, if only one child in 5, that means that those other 4 children have reduced the average age hugely. And so I think if we can get that lifestyle of 100,000 years ago, save some more of those poor little kids, let them live, because they don't have the same mortality levels in a 21st century life, then everything starts looking a whole lot rosier. Until
Like,
Kellogg's gets involved.
people don't know how to use information, how to interpret statistics. Just the example you just was talking about. Like, I heard so many people saying like in the past people were living to 35 years, and it's just stupid interpretation of information. That's it. They don't understand stuff. And another problem is when we say like 100,000 years ago, they are starting, like some guys were convincing me that we evolved eating honey, or we evolved eating fruit. I'm like, man, have you ever been in a wild forest? Like, I am in wild forest all the time. So have you seen honey somewhere? Have you seen fruit somewhere? There is no honey or fruits anywhere.
No, I go for, excuse me, for people who are listening to this podcast in the future, we are in the last half of August. And or in the UK, there's lots of blackberries on the vines, on the berry bushes. And so when I walk the dog at lunchtime, I inevitably pull over and, stop and find the nice. You got to watch because blackberries set my face on fire if they're not fully ripe. But, they eat them. And outside, I've got a plum tree that's ripe with plums, and there's a pear tree that is nearly ready. But all of that happens over a month or 6 weeks of the year. So these people who think they're going to eat fruit for their lives, well, that means that they're going to have to fast for 11 months of the year.
Exactly. And there is another part to that. Like all the modern fruits and vegetables are artificially selected for their properties. There were no, like in wilderness, you will never find big apples or big
Yeah.
pears or something. They are tiny, and they
Mm.
are so bad. Like you can't even taste it because it's disgusting.
Yeah.
This is the fruit that we were uh, eating
Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
past.
these people seem to think they're going to go into the wilderness and pick a navel orange and eat it, and it's going to be
Yeah.
this nice big orange like that, and full of vitamin C and those yummy red delicious apples. But you're right. If anyone's eaten a crab apple, we used to have crab apples when we were kids, and you don't have more than one crab apple because you normally have one bite of it and then spit that out on the ground and go, and it takes another 10 minutes to get the taste out of your mouth, that horrible bitter taste out of your mouth. So you're quite right. And it's the same with tubers in the ground. Oh, we would have eaten lots of tubers, potatoes, carrots. Can you imagine what a potato tuber looked like 100,000 years ago?
Also, a very interesting logic is like 99% of plants are not edible, and 99% of meat is edible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's right. There's that yummy boar over there. Oh, but I'll eat these. I'll eat these really very badly tasting apples and I'll eat that tuber that tastes like dirt and is really fibrous. But I won't eat the boar because, well, that's because I'm vegetarian. I don't mind vegetarian people, but I must admit I'm deviating here. It's the vegans I struggle with because they're so anti meat.
you know what is interesting about all these ideologies? Let's forget about why they were created and profits and stuff like that. Just as an ideology, like vegans are limiting themselves. They eat only some specific things. They will not eat meat. I don't limit myself at all. Like people say, carnivore is limiting. No, I can eat anything. I can eat mushrooms, honey, whatever I will need to survive. If I will be in mountains and I will be starving, I will eat anything that I will find. But
Yeah.
when I have available different kinds of foods, I'm choosing the best food that I can get, which is beef. You see, I am not the one who is restricting. These people are. If you are following some kind of diet, you are restricting yourself and trying to moderate your food intake. I'm not doing that. I'm eating the best food.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes. I posted a while ago on the Facebook. There's a few different groups of course, on Facebook, and one of them was weight loss for beginners. And I posted a meal that was very fatty, had a couple of beef patties on it, and homemade waffle, which a waffle in the waffle maker is just egg and cheese, nothing else, and that was covered in butter. And I got one particular chap came at me, um, and called. He said, "What was it? What sort of snake oil are you selling?" And he just got quite toxic really quickly. And I'm not a toxic person, so I didn't attack him what's the word, retaliation. But I try to explain to him, you don't have to eat all those carbohydrates, and you don't have to be calorie deficient to lose weight. You don't have to eat 1,300 calories a day and be permanently hungry all of your life just to lose weight. You can just eat decent foods and when you get full, stop eating. It's pretty simple. And exercise.
Uh, Something interesting came into my mind. So when I was researching, I came up with this information. When you start restricting your calories, body's logic is like this: like there is not enough food, so I need to slow down all the processes which spend energy. it starts shrinking your muscles because muscles spends a lot of energy, and then it slows down your brain activity because brain spends lots of energy, and it tries to match your energy expenditure to the amount of calories that you are receiving. When you are fasting, the opposite happens because you can't catch food. The body needs to speed up all of the processes so you will have a chance to catch food. You see, it's very interesting.
That
Body
is
knows,
interesting. Yeah.
yes, body knows that you have like 2 months of fat inside. If it will like do its best and speed up all the processes, you will have big chances of catching food. You see, it, like it is the most efficient way. Your metabolism speeds up and you start spending more energy, not less. When you are restricting this, the lower is your calorie intake, the lower is the amount you spend. And during the fasting, it's the opposite. You just spend more and more and more energy, and it comes only from fat.
Isn't it amazing? The human body is just incredibly. I'm always in awe with the human body because there are just so many different pathways in it, as chemical pathways, so many vitamins, so many enzymes. You've got an enzyme for this, you've got an enzyme to counter that enzyme. It's like insulin, and then you've got I can't remember its name, but you've got another one that counters insulin. Everything in your body counters something else so that you remain in a state of equilibrium. And what you just said about the difference between fasting and calorie restriction is another perfect a perfect evolutionary decision your body makes. Hey, I've got food, but I haven't got enough food. I have to slow down. I've got no food. I need to get food. I need to speed up. And that sort of thing. And people, this is where people, of course, they don't think through that sort of thing. And what the way you just phrase it then is really good. Because people don't think that through, they think, well, if calorie restriction makes me tired and gives me brain fog and I lose muscle, therefore fasting must just do that, on steroids. But that's actually the opposite.
There are also lots of interesting effects fasting has. Like I'm seeing all this situation this way. Like we evolved to the conditions that we were living in. So we have day and night. So the body evolved to be active at day and sleep at night, repairing some stuff. Exactly the same way we had periods of fasting and feeding. You see, so body, like for a very long time, all life on earth is fasting, like almost all the time. Every living creature is fasting. So we evolved. Our body knows that when we are fasting, we need to repair, as in sleep. And when we are feeding, we need to do some different things. So after the third day of fasting, some like very, very cool processes happen. Like your human growth hormone raises 10x. Can you imagine that? 10x.
Wow. You normally pay a lot of money for drugs to do that.
Yes, exactly. Like bodybuilders spend $50,000 per year for that. So this is the first part. Second part, stem cells are released. Like people pay lots of money to inject stem cells. And tomorrow I have a blood test. After on the 8th day, I will do a blood test and I will check my human growth hormone also, and I will know exactly what is happening. Body uses stem cells and human growth hormone to repair everything. Like I had pain in my joints, in my foot, legs. How is it called?
Ankle?
No,
Knee?
knee. Yes, I had like serious pain when I was running. It was very painful in my knee. So I did a 10-day fast, and after that I just ran exactly the same distance, and there was no pain at all. Like in 10 days, body recovered everything. And people will go and do surgery, replace some things, menisc or something. I don't know. So body can take care of itself if you are allowing it to happen.
Yeah. And for those people who think, oh, fasting for a week is going to be so painful, not as painful as getting a knee operation. And the next 3, 4, 6 months of rehabilitation to get back to walking on it and then build it up. I've got this shoulder has got half a dozen screws holding it together because of a slight judo accident one day, and the sports surgeon, he screwed it all back together. It took weeks and weeks and weeks. The first 6 weeks, I was in agony, absolute agony. And of course, there's nowhere you can sleep. You can't sleep on that side. You can't sleep on that side. You can't sleep on your back because everywhere you sleep, it's within a few minutes, the pain starts picking up again. So there's no such thing as sleep for the first month. And then I could slowly get to a stage where I could lift my arm up, and I would do 10 times this, where I was lifting my arm up, and eventually I could lift it above my shoulder. And it took weeks of rehabilitation. Now, I'm not saying that fasting's going to fix a shoulder that's been ruined by an accident, but when it comes to things like you say, especially when it's due to inflammation, and how many people are in chronic pain because of inflammation, and that's where fasting is going to fix all of that.
Inflammation is also a very interesting process. Like body uses inflammation to heal you.
Yeah.
If you have problem, you have inflammation, and body heals that parts. But because we messed like all the natural processes, now we have chronic inflammation, and we are putting into ourselves some poisonous stuff, and our body is constantly fighting all these toxins and stuff like that. We are really screwed. We need to stop poisoning ourselves and start just doing whatever we did for hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah.
Do we need to be smart to do that? I don't understand why people don't do that.
No. And there's the thing, though, you just said, we're all poisoning ourselves. But if you as an individual are waiting for somebody else to tell you that this is going to be good, you're going to die of old age. Because, like you say, I always struggle with this word, the pharmacological, the people that make the tablets, they don't want you to get better. They don't want healthy people. The doctors, let's face it, I think doctors get a hard rap, but let's face it, they get a lot of people into their doctor's surgery who don't want to help themselves. They just want a tablet. So they end up, I think, being a bit desensitized to people who do want to be healthy. The government, I think, ends up in a position of they end up in a position where if they say anything, then Kellogg's are going to say, well, we're not paying our billions of pounds of taxes. If that's your attitude, you've got all the cereal industry, the industry that makes seeds, whether it's wheat or barley or rapeseed or all that sort of stuff. There's thousands of them in the British economy. That would make a huge difference if all of the cereal agricultural people were told that they've got no crops left. The difference would be massive. So if you want change, you're going to have to just change yourself and make that decision on your own.
And it is very, very hard because we will need to take responsibility and start learning and analyzing. And it's very hard. Like without your personal experience, you will never know what information is true or not. So you will need to explore the world, which no one wants to do. It's dangerous, it's discomforting, painful, It's better to believe a specialist which knows everything.
Dead right, exactly. And of course, you can do the other thing. You can Google it, and then you're really down the toilet because there are so many people with so many conflicting stories on the likes of Google. Or even on Twitter or so on. You put on a post, and next thing somebody's saying that's going to kill you. So you just it becomes a minefield to find information that I feel is going to help me and my health and my longevity. And I said to my friend yesterday, I said, I want to live to 100. My grandfather lived to 97. My grandmother lived to, I think, 86 or something like that. My mum died at 93 a couple of years ago. My dad died at around, I think I should know this, I think he was in his late 80s. He was pretty pissed off because he expected to live to 100, but he got a stroke. Again, probably related to sugar. And so I've got the genes. If I can do the health, and my grandfather, who died at 97, he was still hobbling around the garden. He had this massive garden out the back of his property. This was back in the 60s. And, he'd be planting cabbages and broccoli and all potatoes, and he'd be planting all of those in the ground all the time. He worked his ass off until he was 97. So as far as I'm concerned, if I can live for 100 and be healthy and active until then, I think that's a pretty good. I'm 60 now, so that's why I'm thinking about these things.
Very cool.
So many colleagues and friends and so on start popping their clogs, mid 60s going into their 70s, and you're thinking, man, that's way too early. You're being ripped off. Dying at 70, dying at 75, you're only 3/4 of the way through your life. You got to look after yourself.
Yes, true.
Yeah, I read a book the other day and it was all about longevity. It was about oxygen, actually. I think I did a podcast on that too, because oxygen is an amazing product. I know I'm deviating here. It's an amazing product because we all need it to survive. If you stop breathing, you will last for a couple of minutes, then your brain will get brain damaged, and then you'll die. Within 5 minutes, you're dead of oxygen. Yeah. And yet oxygen is really toxic to our bodies. It's toxic to our cells. It has to go in through our lungs, and it's completely separated all the way through. It goes through to your muscles in hemoglobin. It gets to your muscular cell or your brain cell, and then it's transported still through your cell walls to the mitochondria. And it's only when it's in the mitochondria that it's utilized. And then there's oxidative reactors that can happen. So oxygen gets converted to carbon dioxide and water in the mitochondria, and of course produces energy. But in the process, stuff like peroxide can poke out. And if the peroxide isn't used fast enough, it can cause all sorts of grief. So our whole bodies are designed around a product that's really toxic. And that's the problem with a lot of the foods and so on then that add to that toxicity and reduce the vitamins we need and inside our bodies and change all of those. Like I said before, the body is so amazing with all of the things that happen inside it. And we come along and think we know better with chemicals and ointments and anti, COVID-19 vaccines and all that sort of stuff.
Yes. Like good analogy will be a car is designed to use petroleum, which is toxic and damaging. Petroleum, if we will drink petroleum, we will die. But car is designed to use it, and it runs great. But if you will fill the tank with diesel, car will break down. Diesel is also toxic. Like everything is toxic. But we are evolved to use these things. We are evolved to use oxygen, meat, and stuff like that. But we are not evolved to use this artificial chemical fast food and all this processed sugars and all this medicines and stuff like that. This is the problem. We are not used.
No. Most of the problem is really that these medicines aren't getting rid of the issue, they're just getting rid of the symptoms. And so the issue carries on. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. So the issue carries on, we get sicker, and then we blame old age. I think that's the big thing. We end up blaming it. How many people say, "Oh, I can't stand up straight," or "Oh, my back's killing me." It's just my age. I don't have a sore back, and I can lift 100 kilos on a squat rack in the gym, and I don't have a sore back. You don't lift anything at the gym, and you've got a sore back. And it's the same scenario.
Exactly.
Mm,
Yes.
mm. So when you are in fasting, when it comes to exercise, um, you still do fairly physical exercising. You don't reduce it at all. You don't tone
Uh,
things down.
I think I reduce weights a little bit. Yes, because uh, when you are fasting, you feel weaker and you need more uh, like willpower. You need more willpower to do things. If you if you are able to get this willpower, if you want it like bad enough, then you will do it. If I will try to, I will do that experiment. So I will lift my, like I will bench press my maximum when I'm eating, and then I will try to do that in 20 days of fasting. I will try that. Very interesting. Like if it will be like a survival thing, and I need to do it, or I will try my maximum, and then we can just compare. I will
Mm,
make a post about that.
yeah. Okay. Cool. So how can people get hold of you then? With regard, I know you're on Twitter because that's where we met.
Yeah.
And I'll write it down in the show notes, but what's your Twitter address?
Uh, I have created a nickname in when I was a teenager, and it was I wanted to change the world from my childhood state. I wanted to change the world, so I created a nick reformator, someone who makes reforms. You see, I
Right.
wanted to reform the world. So it's in a hacker style with digits.
Okay. I will write that down then in my
Yes,
show notes so people are interested.
RE4 MAT0R. It's a hacker nickname. I was a hacker in when I was a teenager.
Yep. Okay. And then when it comes to Instagram, what are you on Instagram?
Uh, like everything that is connected to exploration and health stuff is on X, and on Instagram I have only filmmaking stuff. So I
Right.
have some
Okay.
works and stuff like that. And also on Instagram, if I will start posting whatever I think, they will block me very,
Yeah.
very quickly. So I'm
Yeah.
posting on X.
Yeah. Okay. You're not allowed to think on Instagram.
And
Okay.
I think that on X, in maybe several years, we will have a situation when they will start blocking people again. I think so. And that's why we need to use as a backup some kind of platform which is decentralized, uncensorable. So I double everything I post on X. I double on Noster, which is uncensorable. It's decentralized fully. Do you
Okay.
know the Noster?
No, it's the first time I've heard of it.
Okay, I will send you some info and links. It just takes 2 seconds. Like I copy and post exactly the same things
Yeah.
I post on X. Because when I will be blocked, I will have this stuff. Otherwise, I will lose everything.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I mean, in regard to when I do a Twitter X post, I then copy and paste it onto my Instagram, and it directly flicks it onto Facebook, and then sometimes I'll open up a group feed on Facebook and post it there. So,
Yeah.
and that all takes 5 minutes with copy and paste. So,
I'm planning to do some very, very controversial experiments with cancer and with stuff like that, fasting and cancer.
okay.
I want to find people who are like desperate and terminally ill and people like that, and try to work with them to cure. I know it's forbidden and it will be blocked everywhere, but I just am interested in that stuff.
And if you've got cancer and it's terminal, you're thinking, hey, if there's a 0.5% chance of this working, I'm in.
Yes. And I've read a lots of information that fasting helps a lot with cancer, a lot.
I've heard that too. I've read that as well.
This info is suppressed because it's billions and billions in profit. You cannot stop.
No,
that.
and there's the irony, because those people will say, "Oh, you can't mess with people's lives," but hang on, with you and your medications, you're messing with those same people's lives, but that's
You are
okay because that's under a
with this chemotherapy. You are killing people. That's it.
Yeah. Good luck with that. That'll be interesting. I'd like to keep post on that. What is your? Do you know what you're in with your filmmaking? Do you know what your Instagram thing is called?
Yes, on Instagram I'm Vantisto. VANTISTO, like a magician. Okay. Vantisto.
Okay, I'll write all of this in my show notes, and when you send me the information on the Noster, do you want me to put that in the show notes as well?
I think that everyone should have start using Noster. It's not that comfortable like X, for example, or Instagram, but we need to get used to it. Otherwise, we will be just silenced. We will live in complete delusion. We need to have a path to truth. Otherwise,
yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about? We've been talking for a bit over, nearly an hour and a quarter, so that's why I'm thinking of rounding it up, because I am good at talking too much, and some of my podcasts go forever.
We had a great talk, and if you will have some specific questions in future which people want to hear answers to, my experience, I'm not trying to bring truth to the world or something like that. I'm just sharing my experience. I try things and I'm sharing. I'm not saying whatever I do is the right thing or something. I'm sharing my experience and my results. And then people can decide for themselves. They can ask me questions, and that's it.
Yeah. No, that's great. I do take my hat off to you, because it's what you're doing, no matter how you look at it, is difficult, and it's people like you who do it that give inspiration to even people like me, who I'm thinking, hey, 48 hours isn't enough. I haven't given myself enough of whatever it is. I haven't tried this hard enough, so I need to get back into doing a few longer fasts, like you say, building into it to the extent that I can do at least. Maybe if I would like to set myself a target of a week. So if I give myself a bit of time to build up to a week, that would be pretty cool.
Okay, let's do another podcast, and let's talk about motivation and the mindset, which allows you to succeed in everything, like unlimited motivation and the mindset, which makes you the ultimate winner.
All right. Thank you very much, Roman, for turning up, for being my guest, and I wish you very well for the future and for the next 28 days. So you've got another 20 days, 21 days, 20 days. Yeah. Good luck. And I'll be keeping an eye on you on Twitter to see X. I still struggle with calling it X, to see how you're getting on.
Okay. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah.
Thank
you very much. All right. Thank you, everybody. I think that about rounds it up. So thank you, everybody, for listening. If you have any questions, flick me a message, and as Roman said, I can liaise between the two of you, or I'm sure you can join Roman on his social media and ask him yourself. All right. Thank you very much.